I'm standing in front of Canada's Senate, where Bill C-11, Trudeau's censorship bill, just passed. It's now on its way to the House of Commons. Come with me. The internet is this magical space where we can find pretty much anything we want. We value the freedom that we have to find the content that we enjoy most. Bill C-11 is a direct threat to that. Under Bill C-11, the government will determine what's most important to put in front of your eyeballs.
The goal of the government, the goal of the parliament, is to create sort of mandates for Canadian creators like myself to make more explicitly Canadian content for a Canadian audience exclusively.
The Heritage Minister claims that Bill C-11 is all about protecting Canadian culture.
The bill, I said, it's very simple. It's about, streamers contributing to Canadian culture. Canadians' strong culture is no accident. We made the decision to fight for that.
Who says that Canadian culture needs to be protected? As if it's so fragile that without government intervention, it'll somehow crumble and dissipate.
To view this as a problem that needs fixing reeks of political obliviousness.
Since when is it the government's job to generate culture? Isn't that the people's job?
It is, I think, fundamentally anti-democratic to pass legislation like this that gives an unelected, unaccountable body like the CRTC so much power.
Is that really democratic?
Well, hey, democracy.
The way it used to work is that an artist or aspiring creative would have to put together a package and send it to a traditional broadcaster.
Andrew Simon, who is the executive or producer of this television show Weekend, asked me to come out here and talk for 3 minutes on anything.
The traditional broadcasters, such as the CBC or Bell Media, would then look at the package and determine if they wanted to give this artist a spot or not. Now, in the age of the internet, artists don't have to worry about that. They have the freedom to create and put content out there for Canadians to watch.
I, as a new media creator, do not want to live in the world of old media.
Under Bill C-11, they'll no longer enjoy that same artistic freedom or creativity. Instead, they'll have to account for an arbitrary list of criteria that is set out by the government.
There's many criteria to define Canadian content.
If they meet that list of criteria, they'll get bumped to the top of the screen, where folks will get to enjoy watching them. However, if they don't meet that list of criteria, they'll be bumped down or demoted. In other words, Bill C-11 puts the government in this position where they get to pick who wins and who loses, who's in and who's out.
YouTube has its own algorithm, which is controversial in its own terms, like what makes a YouTube video easy to discover or not easy to discover. YouTube has their own sort of system of that. If government gets involved, if the CRTC gets involved and comes up with their own sort of metrics, then you've got this whole new stress to worry about. A lot of Canadians are going to be oblivious to all of these hoops that they have to jump through. A lot of Canadian YouTubers are oblivious to this discussion that's even happening. So there's I worry very much that a lot of YouTubers are going to wake up one day and they're suddenly going to see their content suppressed. Suddenly they're not going to be making as much money, not getting enough views because governments intervened.
How does this threaten YouTube and streaming services? Would it not also, at the same time, broaden your reach across Canadian viewers?
So YouTube's going to look at that and say, oh, Canadian CanCon producers have an unfair advantage on this platform. They're going to have to actually net zero and detract views internationally.
No Canadian YouTuber is successful just by appealing to Canadians. They're successful because they appeal to a global audience. That is the way that media works in the 21st century. We want the status quo to exist as it currently is, which promotes our content equally to all nations of the world, not exclusively to a Canadian audience.
Digital-first creators didn't ask for this bill. They don't need this bill. They don't want this bill. This bill is an infringement on their ability to captivate an audience organically. It's an infringement on their ability to achieve success, which they're doing all on their own without the government.
I'm wondering if, this freedom that you're advocating is obviously good for YouTubers who succeed, but it also has another impact, and this is on minorities if nobody watches it.
I mean, I could make a video about anything, and if no one watches it, doesn't necessarily mean that it's underserving the topic that I created a video about. It just may mean that there's maybe not that many people interested in the content that I'm offering.
Actually, one of the marvelous things about an unregulated YouTube is that you do kind of sink or swim based entirely on the quality or the popularity of your content. You know, there are a lot of failed Canadian YouTubers. There's a lot of failed Canadian actors. Nobody is guaranteed success in the cultural realm. But I just think that YouTube is a marvelous case study of how you can be an independent Canadian content creator and achieve, you know, wealth and success and fame and all of the sorts of things that creatives want, you know, without government regulation.
They produce the content that they're passionate about, the content that allows them to express themselves creatively. They're also accounting for what Canadians want to see, or maybe even what a global audience wants to see.
Of the dozens of online video makers and viewers I have heard from, all have been crystal clear that they have zero desire to live under a government with the power to force platforms like YouTube to push, promote, suggest, or otherwise encourage certain kinds of Canadian content to Canadians who have not freely chosen to see it.
Bill C-11 is proof that the government doesn't trust Canadians with freedom. Bill C-11 will put the government in a position where they control what you see online.
That is the tradition of some countries, but not of ours. In Canada, freedom should never be viewed as an obstacle to patriotism.
After more than a year of deliberation, Bill C-11 is now in the House of Commons for its final vote. Bill C-11 is up for final debate right behind these doors, but it's not too late. It is your final chance to have your say. Email the Heritage Minister or your local Liberal Member of Parliament and tell them to keep their hands off your YouTube. Kill Bill C-11.